Now this is a recipe I wanted to do for a while. Now when I use the word recipe, I'm being almost lackadaisic in my approach with this one. I want this to be as carefree as possible. I want to go back to my early years of cooking when I took to the stove and I was intrigued by jams and relishes and bottling and pickling, and so pushing myself to get an understanding on chutneys. I took to the stove and I was playing about with different ideas. So I thought I'd go back to the early days of when I started making my own chutneys. Now, I've had apples in the fridge, which I want to use up, pink ladies. There's not many here, but it will yield a small amount of chutney. I've got a couple of small onions, which again, I want to say finely chopped, but they've been chopped. I've got 100 grams of sultanas, some sugar. The sugar is a light demerara. I want to have depth in this chutney, and that's why I'm using this. It's going to have more of a moody feel to it, rather than if you used caster sugar or granulated sugar. Cider vinegar. It's less harsh than distilled malt vinegar, although if you did have distilled malt vinegar, it can work well as well. Add some ginger in the fridge, so okay, I'll add a teaspoon of that. Some clove for more of a warmth to it, and just a touch of salt. So I'm going to start off with the apples. Now the fact I've got so little apples, I would normally peel the apples, but today I'm going to leave the skins on. Leaving the skins on will add a wee bit of colour to the chutney, and will also help keep the apple together. Again, I'm just going to chop into carefree pieces, not overly fussed. It's not regimented. I don't want it to be regimented. I want it to go back to them early days when I used to have just messing about with the stove and having fun. Now you can see the quantity in front of me here. What we'll do is I'm just going to not make it up as I go along, because I've done enough of this to have an understanding of how this is going to turn out, even when it comes to the sugar and the vinegar. We're going to add just maybe 75ml or so of vinegar and roughly the same amount of sugar. Now what we'll find is when it goes onto the stove, we'll just taste it as we go along, and if we find it's too acidic, we'll just tweak it with a bit more sugar. If we find it too sweet, I'll just tweak it with the vinegar. One of the biggest questions people do ask me is there a difference in the vinegar that we use? Yes, there is. It's lovely. It's got a lovely gentle, I wouldn't say gentle is maybe too delicate a word for the vinegar, perhaps more an approachable feel on taste compared to, like I said, the distilled malt vinegar. Next question will be, what kind of apples can I use? You can use anything you want. It's really up to yourselves. There's no set rule on what you should be using and can be using. Now at this stage I'm going to add the vinegar because I'm in no rush. That means I'm not panicking whether the apples are going to go black or not. So we'll just give it a wee mix in the pan as it is. I'll just stop them turning too quickly and oxidizing. So when it comes to chutneys and things. Like I say, anything in the fridge or veg rack. We've even created stunning carrot chutney as well before, which has got a nice bit of heat to it and the flavours of the spices. And again, when I use the word spice, it can also mean warming spices, welcoming spices, not spicy as in heat. So my carefree cutting of apples, they're roughly the same size. And like I said, the skin will help them hold as it's cooking. Mix. Already the apples have taken up pretty much the whole pan. My carefree onions. Yeah. My sugar. Just about 75 grams just now. Again, we can add more if we have to later on. We can just get the correct balance. I'm going to add 1 level teaspoon of salt. Now that will help preserve, along with vinegar, will preserve the chutney itself and kill any bacteria. Teaspoon of ginger puree and about half a teaspoon of ground cloves. Now if you're not keen on these sort of old-fashioned spices, you could even use curry powder, so you get a curried apple chutney. So there we have the basic ingredients in there. We've got the apple, we've got the onion, we've got the sugar, we've got the vinegar, and we've got the spice and the ginger. So we'll get that onto the stove and we'll get that stewing. And when it starts to come down, we'll have a wee taste and we'll check for the right balance of sweetness and sharpness. So we'll get that onto the stove right now. So just now I'm just going to have a wee, I'm going to put my spoon in there and just just now I'm happy with the sweetness and the acidity, so I'm just going to continue to let that come down and we'll come back in another maybe 10 minutes and have a look. So you can see now the apples are still holding their shape, they're not breaking down. I'm not always worried or stressed over it. I'll give it another wee taste. Yeah, the sugar, the vinegar, the sweetness of the apples, it's all coming together now. So I think at this stage I'm going to add my golden sultanas straight in. If you're not keen on sultanas, you can leave them out. Use some maybe dried cranberry and they'll just rejuvenate nicely in the pan. I'm going to give it another 5 minutes and have a look after that. Now the chutney has been on for 30 minutes or thereabouts. You can see it's kosher, it's farmhouse, it hasn't broken down, but the flavours are there. Now you could, if you wanted to, traditionally chutneys are usually made with the fruits and whatever's left from the season, and that's when it's a way of preserving things and enjoying that later on in the year. But as it is just now, you could take the chutney, I'm just going to put it into this dish just now, we could enjoy it as it is just now over some lovely burgers, over pork chops. You can see the yield there. I've almost filled this bowl and I've still got the same quantity left over. if you wanted to, you could sterilise jars, hot chutney into hot jars. You know the rules when it comes to chutney making. I'm not going to go into it too much just now. And seal it, and that'll last donkeys in a cool dark place. But just now, even if we tried it just now, it'll just be delicious. So we're enjoying it in this moment of time, but knowing the fact that we've got jars of whatever relishes or jams or chutneys that we've made, we can also have something to look forward to later on in the year. So there's no fast set rule on what you put into the pan. If you, like I did all them years ago, want to play about in the stove and just use your own sort of taste on how to tweak things acidic wise, sweetness wise, and to be fair, if you don't want to bottle it, airtight container in the fridge, it would last a number of weeks in the fridge as well, and you can take it as and when you want it to as well. I mean, I know even with the anytime relish that I created, how long ago was that? But 6 years ago, maybe 7 years ago, which we jarred off. We still got some of that in small jars, which is even better now than it was when we first made it. But it's all fun. I'm not overly stressed on the making of this chutney. It's worked. It's tasty. It's just I'm happy with it, and I've had fun making it, and I've had fun sharing my little knowledge on this subject with you. So why don't you try and put stuff into a pan and see how far you can go. Enjoy.